And welcome to the Fantasy Flex podcast presented by PrizePicks. I'm your host, Chris Raybon, along with my guy, Sean Kerner. And today is our week 5 props episode. So, Sean, how you doing?
Not too good. I think I have the flu or something, but I'm gonna bring it. Like we're gonna do Michael Jordan flu game, 5-0 my props today, hopefully. But yeah, other than that, feeling good. Other than feeling like shit, I feel great.
I love it. I love it. The Jordan flu game reference. All right. With that, we can't beat that. So we're just going to get right into the props. So if you're not familiar with the episode, we do 1 quarterback prop, 2 running back props, and 2 receiving props each per episode. So 10 props total. Sean, where are you going with your quarterback prop?
I'm going with the over a half interception for Jacoby Brissett against the Buccaneers. So I think he will throw an interception here. PFF has him with a 4.7 turnover worthy play rate this season, but with only 1 interception on the year. So he's due for some luck to regress there. This game, he should throw a ton. The Dolphins are plus 10 heading in this game. So the market has him at 37.5 pass attempts here. So I think the odds of him throwing an interception are high. I have it right around 60% that he throws a pick here. So I'm going with over a half interceptions for Jacoby Brissett.
Yeah, I actually had to do a double take when I looked at Jacoby Brissett's career interception numbers. He's actually been quite good in terms of not throwing picks, but this is a matchup where, unlike some of the other ones where they just kind of profiled as these slogs of a game, like you're not going to be able to run on Tampa. So even though I think me and you are both playing corner for Tampa Bay this weekend, this is probably going to
I don't think I can play cornerback for anybody
okay.
right now. But
well, Richard Sherman's like, oh, fuck, here we go again. But I think most quarterbacks in any week, I would probably bet the over on half an interception because it's just the nature of interceptions. They're very random. Even a guy like Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady, guys who have historically limited interceptions, can throw them in bunches. Like we've already seen Rodgers throw, have a multi-interception game this year. So I like it. I got Brissett projected over that, for an average. So for a median, he should definitely go to 1 more often than none. And hopefully we can go 2-0 on interception props. I think I had Jalen Hurts. Maybe it was the Monday episode actually, but yeah.
You hit that one on the very first drive. I hope that happens here.
Hey, I've also lost Dalton Schultz on the very first drive. So
true. Haven't we all? We have all done that.
It evens out. It evens out. But yeah. So you got Jacoby Brissett over and half an interception is the line at PrizePicks. I am going for mine with Sam Darnold over 250.5 passing yards at PrizePicks. This number, it's just too low. I know the Eagles are gonna, they're gonna play their 2 safeties deep, so they will try to get the Panthers to run the football. But you look at Sam Darnold, and even though the Panthers have had 3 cake matchups, the Jets, the Saints dealing with all those COVID issues in week 2, and then the Houston Texans and Davis Mills first start, Darnold's still been over that number in all 3 of those games. And last week, obviously, against Dallas in more of a comeback game script. So 279, 305, 304, and 301 are Darnold's 4 passing yardage totals. I have him closer to 270 in this matchup. And it kind of goes hand in hand with the fact that I think the market's overrating the Panthers a little bit in this spot. I expect the Eagles to put up a fight here and potentially win this game. So I think we could see another game script a little bit closer, maybe not a complete blowout like, the third quarter in Dallas. But remember, the Panthers were up at halftime in that game last week. So I think Sam Darnold, at this point, we have to project him a little higher in terms of his passing yardage total. So going over 250.5 for Darnold.
Yeah, I'm with you here. I'm at 270. So I had to do a double take with this number at 250. It seems weird to say, but Sam Darnold's a high floor play, and we're projecting him at 270 yards, but that's where we're at. So this is one I would act fast because I think this prop's for sure going to go up. It wouldn't surprise me if it does close right around 270. So this is one I would urge you, if you're listening, to get it while you can.
All right. Who are you going with for your first running back prop of week 5?
Okay, so this one, I love this prop. It's Malcolm Brown under 27.5 rushing yards against the Buccaneers. We saw the Patriots combine for -1 rushing yard Sunday night against the Buccaneers. So with Malcolm Brown in the midst of a three-way committee. Really, this is a three-way committee. I just don't see how he clears this number. If anything, this could be Miles Gaskin bounce back game where they might involve him in the passing game more. But I just don't see Malcolm Brown getting enough carries to clear this number. I mean, even if he were to somehow get 8 to 10 carries, he could still go on this under this number. That's how good the Bucs D line is. The Dolphins offensive line is pretty rough right now. So this is just an easy under for me. I'm projecting this all the way down to like 19.5. So I still think this should be down closer to about 20.5, 21.
Yeah. I have him projected for just 3.4 yards per carry this week, which is, me and my model, like I don't go too crazy with yards per carry. So like this is probably the lowest a running back can get.
How many carries do you have? That's probably the most
right around
important.
8. Right around 8. Yeah. So about 8 for 25 or 6 in his mean, and for the median, it'd be more like 22.5 or something like that. So this number's a little too high. And I feel like we've had good success here, just kind of fading backs against the Bucs on this podcast. There's a few defenses, the Bucs, the Saints, usually most weeks, they're just not going to give up much on the ground. And so, we saw it with the Patriots last week, and they actually threw, what was it, like 85% of the time with Mac Jones. So when Belichick is, kind of not even running on the Bucs, Brian Flores is a Belichick disciple. So, I think you kind of come out with the same mindset, because there's just not really a path to success running against the Bucs. Like maybe you'd like to do it, but it's just tough to do. And then the Bucs are the favorite. So the game script not working in his favor either. So I love this one. So you have 2 Dolphins props to start the show.
That's my outfit today. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I see.
Both bad. I'm rooting for the Dolphins to play bad, but yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Funny story. I was 2 weeks ago, Stucky on our Action Network pod picked the Jags, and I had Jags gear on. So I tried to jinx them last week because they didn't cover. So I tried to jinx them and rock the, a Jets throwback, Joe Namath. I was like, Zach Wilson isn't Broadway Zach. And of course they cover. So this week I just went with the Wade Boggs Devil Rays. I just went a different sport. So,
okay.
Hopefully
does that mean I should take the Red Sox tonight?
Hey, I think so.
It's already too late. I already took them plus 1.5. But that's
there
good
you
to
go.
hear.
There you go, man. All right, let's go to my first running back prop. I feel like this guy we've been on one side or another of this guy all year. Damien Harris, over 59.5 rushing yards. Last week, we kind of talked about it. You don't run on Tampa Bay. Bill Belichick's going to play to the strengths of his team and the strengths of the defense. And in this, in that game, they didn't run and they couldn't run. In this game, you have a Houston defense that is 31st in run defense DVOA, but 8th in pass defense DVOA. So they are a run funnel to the fullest. And that's not to mention that the Patriots are 9.5-point favorites, their biggest spread in favor of them all season. So this could be their most positive game script. You get to buy low on a running back that should get probably 70% or more of the backfield carries here in Damien Harris. And he's not going to need a ton of carries, I think, to go over this number against Houston. They're giving up 5 yards per carry to opposing running backs. They're giving up 114 rushing yards per game to opposing running backs. So I love Damien Harris over 59.5 rushing yards. I have this closer to 67.5. So I think there's quite a bit of wiggle room here.
Yeah, I love it. I'm with you on the over here as well. It's a good buy low opportunity. We kind of know when to buy on Damien Harris and when to sell. You called it when they were facing the Saints, and this should be a run heavy game script. So they're going to lean on Harris. I'm projecting closer to 64. So I'm right there with you, but it's a high floor. So that's why this is a smash spot on the over. It wouldn't surprise me if he rushes for 80 yards and 2 touchdowns here. So love the over.
All right, where are you going for your second running back prop?
I'm going James Conner over 33.5 rushing yards. It seems like this was his week 1 line, but we know a lot more about this backfield now. And James Conner has played really well. He's pretty much inherited the Kenyon Drake role. And, he's going to benefit from positive game scripts. So certainly when the Cardinals are 4-0, James Conner is going to look good. This week, they're minus 4.5 at home against 49ers. So potentially another good game script for James Conner. Either way, I'm projecting him for about 11 to 12 carries here. So even if he's not, the greatest in terms of yards per rush, I don't see how he doesn't clear this number. He's another guy that I think he has such a high floor that despite only being about 7-8 yards over this market, I just love his floor. And I would take this probably up to 36.5, but seems like this number is not really adjusting to kind of what we've seen from Connor sort of dominating the rushing work. And, it's really between him and Chase Edmonds. They don't really have a third back that mixes in. So everything just leads to me liking the over here on James Conner.
Yeah, I have a projected, in the mid 40s in rushing yardage. I know this is a wet down spot for Arizona. Don't be surprised if San Francisco wins this game or Arizona goes down big early. This is the exact spot where it happens. But even so, like just in terms of the deviation from the number of running back carries you still would expect Arizona to get, maybe at worst, 15 to 17 carries for their backs, even maybe 18. And Connor should still get over half of those. So this is not a hard number to clear, even if you're getting, 9-10 carries. You just have to average like 3.5 yards per carry to get over this number. So I like it as well. For my second running back prop, going with our guy James Robinson, over 61.5 rushing yards. This is just a mix of kind of trending usage and the matchup for Robinson. So last week, Urban Meyer said, forget it. I'm not playing these games with Carlos Hyde anymore. Healthy scratch. So last week, James Robinson logs 95% of the snaps, a season high. He gets 18 carries and gets 78 yards. And that's after a 15 carry, 88-yard performance. So he's gone well over this number in each of the last 2 games. On the season, his carries have gone from 5 to 11 to 15 to 18. So you're seeing an increase in the amount of work he's getting. The Jaguars know they have to run. Now DJ Chark is out, one of their top receivers. So you're going against the Titans defense that's 24th in run defense DVOA. And actually on early downs, when you want to run the ball more, the Titans, they've been surprisingly good against the pass. Most of the damage against the pass has come of these big, like third down plays. Titans are number 1 in early down pass success rate on defense. So that invites the run even more, even though Tennessee late in the down, they're going to give up some plays. So love it for Robinson here. And remember, he played 95% of the snaps, got a season high in carries, and then they got 10 days off. Urban Meyer almost got the rest of his career off in the NFL, but, but James Robinson
10 days just off a little too loosely.
Yeah, right. But just 10 days off for Robinson. I think it's the right call, for Meyer. I will give him credit for kind of figuring that one out quickly, because last season, James Robinson was a guy I felt like we had to talk about every week. He was consistently, underappreciated in all of the markets. And so 95%, he only cleared that number once last year. And we know how good he was last year in terms of his usage. So this should be just vintage James Robinson performance again. He had 102 yards against Tennessee in the first matchup. He had 67 yards in the second matchup. Both of those higher than the 61.5 yard prop that is at PrizePicks right now. So love the over for James Robinson.
Yeah, we keep obviously we keep picking on Urban Meyer, rightfully so, but we keep pointing out that he always makes a mistake initially, and then he usually corrects it. With James Robinson, it's been a constant theme where, they took Travis Etienne in the first round, despite having James Robinson. And then even after he got hurt, they're using Carlos Hyde way too much. I think Urban Meyer gets it now. James Robinson is a legit back, a workhorse back. So I think Carlos Hyde was ruled out because he had a shoulder injury. But either way, even if he returns this week, I think Robinson's going to maintain this workhorse role in the rushing and passing game. So yeah, I'm projecting him closer to 67.5 yards on the ground here. Another one where I just think it's a really high floor. Like he should see 15 plus carries. So I'm with here on the over as well.
All right, where are you going for your first receiving prop?
So I'm going to buy low on Courtland Sutton and go over 52.5 receiving yards at Pittsburgh. He went 3 catches for 47 yards last week, and it was kind of a disaster of a game. The Broncos only threw for 178 yards. Teddy Bridgewater was knocked out of the game with a concussion. So they looked out of sync, and he still almost cleared this number. And he, once again, he saw just a ton of air yards last week. He had 168 yards through the air, which ranked 7th. He's consistently been one of the top receivers in air yards So I'm looking for him to bounce back this week. It looks like Teddy is trending in the right direction. He had a limited practice today, so I'm kind of buying low on Sutton in this market, assuming Teddy plays. And even if Drew Lock has to get the start, I think he'll still sling it around to Sutton. Jerry Jeudy and now KJ Hamler are the lineup. These targets are going to be funneled towards Sutton, Patrick, and Noah Fant. So I like getting the dip here and buying low at 52.5 receiving yards for Courtland Sutton.
Yeah, I have him in the mid 60s. So I'm well over this number. I think the thing with Sutton is you look at his routes per drop back, and remember, he was a little bit questionable to come into the year, recovering from that injury. 80%, 82%, 97%, 98%, starting from week 1. So the last 2 weeks, he's basically been on the field for every drop back of Broncos quarterbacks. His average depth of target is 17.8 this year. And so I take all that into account, not just the guy's like receiving yards and, his catches, but also his air yards to, project forward, because that's going to be, in most cases, even more predictive than just his raw numbers. So I think that's something the market hasn't fully kind of caught on to. It's the touchdowns where you really don't expect much in this low scoring matchup. So like Sutton's my wide receiver 27, but he has 70. I'm projecting him 5 catches, 70 yards. It's just that he only has 0.25 touchdowns. So I think the market is probably, a little more, they're not as high on him because they're kind of looking at the matchup overall. But I think the yardage should be there for him because, somebody's got to get it. I mean, it's going to be the guy running a route on every snap.
Yeah.
You still expect 200 yards or so.
Yeah. I'm with you there. Wide receiver 28. But so if let's say Teddy Bridgewater is ruled out and Drew Lock is starting, do you downgrade Sutton at all, or is it pretty much even split there?
It's a little bit lower because I have Bridgewater in this matchup. I would project Bridgewater for about 7.4 yards per attempt, but I would project Lock for only about 6.7. So I have a big difference between their efficiency. But even if Lock plays again, because I have Sutton for getting about 30% of their yardage or something like that. The math, I can't do the math exactly off the top of my head, but it's some number where as long as the Broncos throw for like 200 yards, I'm going to be over this number. I think the Steelers finally get one here, but that's even better for the
negative game script. You think?
Yeah. I mean, come on. The Broncos played the Jets, Giants, and Jaguars in the first 3 games. And then everyone was like, oh, they're going to beat the Ravens now. It's like, and now it's like, oh, they're going to beat the Steelers. Like, it's like, when I see it, then I'll believe it. But until then, you know what I mean? I'm still going to proceed with caution, but either way, it's good for the Sutton prop here. All right, for my first receiving prop, I'm going with the guy that I bet against on this podcast, and he made me look silly. And so I have come around. I'm trying to right the wrongs of betting against Hunter Renfrow in week 1. I'm going Hunter Renfrow over 4 receptions at PrizePicks for week number 5 against the Chicago Bears. And this is another one where you have the track record and you have the usage and you have the matchup. So in 4 games this year, Hunter Renfrow has 6, 5, 5, and 6 receptions. He's averaging 5.5. He's been over 4 in every single game. He's going against Chicago. Chicago's issue, they've had, coming into the year, we knew the cornerbacks may be an issue. You had Vildor, you had Jalen Johnson on the outside. They've held up decently. The real issue is still in the slot where you have Duke Shelley, you had Marquis Christian earlier in the year. That's kind of the spot that teams want to pick on them. So you saw Cooper Kupp get 7 catches in the slot. Tyler Boyd get 7 catches against them. And last week, kind of quietly, because no one pays attention to the Lions, Amon-Ra St. Brown had a career best 6-catch game. And he's mostly a slot receiver for Detroit against this Chicago team. So it's just a great matchup for Renfrow. And he's running that stick China route. You can't stop it. As long as you give Derek Carr a little bit of time, Hunter Renfrow's doing the triple move now, the triple quadruple move. Like it used to be receivers did a double move and you're like, oh, like Hunter Renfrow's now doing triple and quadruple moves on the regular. Like that's just one of his staple routes. So I think he gets another 5+ catch game against the Chicago Bears.
Yeah, I love this. This prop should probably be closer to 4.5, right? I'm projecting him at 4.8. It was very encouraging to see the routes run jump up from, he's typically around 60 to 65%, jump up to 80. So they're running a lot more 11 personnel. How could you even have Renfrow off the field? So they finally figured that out. And I love attacking his receptions prop as opposed to his receiving yards because, he gets those high percentage, low ADOT routes. I think his ADOT's around 7 right now, Whereas, Ruggs is the deep threat. Edwards is constantly blanketed by cornerbacks. So, Carr has to kind of like force those targets. So Renfrow seems like very high floor in this market. So I prefer to see this around 4.5. So I'd love to take it at 4. So this is another one. Get it while you can. I assume it's going to be 4.5 come Sunday. So act fast on these.
I feel like Renfro's also a guy in fantasy. Like he's moving up the rest of the season rankings where I could see him almost like a poor man's Cooper Kupp. You know what I mean? Like Renfro's the way he's running routes now, and he's gotten a little stronger. Like he's not a guy that's just like, oh, he can only like go inside. He's not Adam Humphries, is I guess what I'm saying. Like he's like a legit, he's more like Julian Edelman now than Adam Humphries. Like he's like a guy that, used to be a strict slot receiver, but he's getting stronger. He's got a mind meld with Carr, and he's just sick at running routes to the point where if you want to line Renfrow up outside, he could still win. He's not the biggest guy, but he could still win on the outside with the way he's running these routes. So
I was going to say he's Cooper Kupp without the touchdowns, but he scored a touchdown each of the last 2 games. So that's huge for his value because that's really been the only thing about him that's been lacking. But yeah, he has such a mind meld that even in the red zone now, Carr's looking his way.
Yeah, it's that route because I think they've been in a few primetime games, and I really listen to the announcers in those as opposed to some of the afternoon games where when I'm rewatching and I'm just watching the condensed snap, and they keep saying that teams are straight up doubling him in the red zone, which is not the usual thing for a guy like him. So yeah, who you got for your final receiving prop for week 5?
Well, I'm going really bold here, and I'm going under 89.5 receiving yards for Tyreek Hill. Yes, I know, bold. It seems crazy, but Tyreek Hill has yet to finish between 60 and 185 receiving yards this year. So let's face it, he has a wide range of outcomes. If he finishes with 250 receiving yards here, I will be the last person on earth that's confused by that. However, the Bills are obviously a tough matchup. They rank first in DVOA, in overall defense, and in pass defense. So this is a tough matchup. And this could be a matchup where, Travis Kelce has a bounce back game. He was pretty much phased out last week. He had 4 catches for 23 yards. So I could see him getting going here. Who knows if Josh Gordon's going to contribute here. But, I'm just kind of investing in Tyreek's lower floor that he's shown this season. So this is a pretty big number. I'm projecting him closer to 82.5. And, I don't expect him to end up close to this. It's going to be one extreme or the other. But I think just given the tougher matchup, I'm going to bet against Tyreek Hill and just, pray.
Yeah, this is the difference between Buffalo, in years past and this year. This year, they're at the top of the league in pressure rate, and they are blitzing like at the 18th highest rate. So they can get pressure without blitzing. What does that mean? That means they can leave 7 in coverage and, double Tyreek Hill every play and bracket Kelce every play. So Buffalo is set up much better this year to make you beat them with other people. It's not just like, okay, we have to blitz to get pressure, or we're going to sit back and we're going to have no pressure and Tyreek Hill can come open. Now Buffalo's kind of put it all together. So I wouldn't be surprised if they win the game. So that might not be good for the Tyreek Hill prop because then they'd be throwing more. But you know what I mean? They're
a lot
set
of
up.
Things could go wrong with this prop. I understand that.
They're set up though to take away a guy like Hill better than they were. Because I know they had 2 matchups last year. I think Hill had pretty good games. I know in the playoff one he did. I forget how he went in the other one, but I know people are going to probably look at that. But Buffalo is kind of set up this year to take away guys like this and make you beat them with a Hardman or a Gordon or a Robinson or somebody like that. So
does this mean Demarcus Robinson will see a target this week? That's a pretty good prop, right? Over under
right, yeah,
half a
especially
target.
with Gordon in the mix.
If Robinson doesn't even get his 65% route share, how the hell is he going to see a target? But I think from what I've heard, Travis Kelce has been talking up Josh Gordon. I've kind of poo-pooed him to start, but I'm interested to see how he looks. I think he could be, we talked about it, as long as Patrick Mahomes is under center, Josh Gordon, we could see that ceiling we saw almost a decade ago at this point. So he could come out firing here, and that would impact the Tyreek Hill prop for sure.
Yep. All right, for my second receiving prop, I'm going Devonta Smith under 5 receptions, and I think this line should be 4.5. He's gone over this, 5 twice at some big games and under twice, but he's averaging just 4.5 receptions. Carolina 37 receptions allowed to wide receivers across 4 games. That is the lowest in the NFL. And we see Carolina putting a lot of effort into taking away, teams' perimeter receivers. The minute a cornerback goes down, they trade for CJ Henderson. Then they get Stephon Gilmore. He's not going to play, obviously, but you see the importance that Carolina is placing on cornerbacks, on taking away, a team's number one option, on taking away perimeter threats and funneling the ball to other places. That's kind of what we got wrong about Dalton Schultz last week, is that your Carolina was, hey, beat us with Dalton Schultz. And this has been a trend for Carolina all season long. So I like the under here. Devonta Smith, with this Eagles team, he's not going to be, I think, a super high volume guy. I think, against the Chiefs, remember, the Eagles didn't punt. The Eagles didn't punt against the Chiefs. So they were going up and down the field. It was the league's worst pass defense. And so, of course, if you don't punt and you're facing the league's worst pass defense, you're going to have a big game. I kind of expected him to have a big game last week, but I do expect the Eagles to have some success. So I don't even know if they'll have to throw a lot, period, in this game. I think the market's underrating the Eagles a little bit, period. But this doesn't profile to me as a big Smith game. And I think more often than not, you're going to see him under 5 receptions than over 5 receptions. I think he might end up averaging, 4.0, 4.2, something like that. Or closer to his 4.5 average right now. But I don't think he's going to be like a 5 catch week in, week out guy. So I love kind of getting ahead of this early, even though we're usually betting on rookies early. This is one where I think it's just a recency bias from 7 for 122. And again, they don't punt against the league worst defense last week. And again, the opponent puts up 42. You know what I mean? So yeah, I think I'm just buying, selling high on Smith in this particular spot.
Yeah, I like it. I'm projecting him at 4.5 as well. So even if it was 4.5, the way reception distributions work, that would still be like a 53% chance he would go under 4.5. So we talk about all the time, just a half reception in these markets is so huge. So love getting under 5. And, Hurts has plenty of options. He's going to lean on both Goddard and Ertz heavily. Either Rager or Quez Watkins could have a big game here. And then I think they're going to get Gainwell more involved in the passing game as well. So it's just hard to project for Smith anything more than 4.5 receptions. So I'm with you on the under 5 as well.
All right. So that is going to do it for our week number 5 props pod. To recap, Sean going Jacoby Brissett over and half an interception. Malcolm Brown under 27.5 rushing yards. James Conner over 33.5 rushing yards. Courtland Sutton over 52.5 receiving yards. And Tyreek Hill under 89.5 receiving yards. I am going with Sam Darnold over 250.5 passing yards. Damien Harris over 59.5 rushing yards. James Robinson over 61.5 rushing yards. Hunter Renfrow over 4 receptions, and Devonta Smith under 5 receptions. All right, make sure you follow Sean on Twitter at @_oddsmaker. You can find me on Twitter at Chris Raybon. You can find us at those same handles in the award-winning free Action Network app, where you can follow our bets, including our prop bets, and track all of your bets that you make each and every day for any sport. Also, be sure to check out actionnetwork.com for our fantasy football projections and rankings, and fantasylabs.com for our DFS models, tools, and content. Until next time, let's get this shmoney.